This is how we all felt the last time the Suns played.
Yeah.
Last real game against Minnesota last year, and we're all just like, did they just get swept by a team that they owned during the regular season? We didn't know just how good Minnesota was going to look in the playoffs yet, beyond that. But now Wolf got a little hope. Start a new season tonight.
It always starts with one, does it not, Basinonians? Never forget that, my young Crunk brothers. It always starts with one, no matter what you're faced with, no matter what you have to overcome. It starts with one thing that you have to do, one step that you have to take. And for the Phoenix Suns, here it is. It starts with one. And man, let us just rejoice in the fact that it's actually starting, right? Aren't you jacked up just for a little Phoenix Suns basketball right now?
No, honestly, Wolf, I think what threw me off, and I don't think I've totally recovered from this, is the Diamondbacks going out before. I think it really just threw off my timeline completely. They would have to be in the World Series to still be playing now, but I'm just saying, everything got thrown off. Yeah, that's true. Maybe I got used to that in a hurry. But just them going out as early as they did threw off, because it feels like, we've been counting down to the Sun season starting on this show, and I still feel like it snuck up on me.
Yes, no, you're right about that, but it's here. It is here, man. In L.A., playing the Clippers. It is here. Ty Lue. Oh, Ty Lue. There's a lot of people here in the basin, of course. They love Ty Lue. Ty Lue has a very good reputation here, I would say, as a coach.
Every year, he's worried, hey, they're going to go after Ty Lue this year, right? I feel like he's been with the Clippers now for 58 years. All right, let's start here. Charles Barkley on with Bickley and Murata today, talking about the leadership the Suns need this season.
Yeah, they both got to step it up. You know, Kevin's a great player, but he says, I just want to play basketball. But he doesn't understand when you're a great player, there's a certain amount of responsibility. And this conversation we had last year, Devin has got to be the guy. Because, like I say, Kevin doesn't want it. He says, hey, I just want to play basketball. You know, he kind of bails out on the leadership and things like that. I'm hoping that Devin learns something being around Steph and LeBron and those guys over the summer, and he's going to step up. Because he's a quiet kid, but, you know, sometimes you can't be quiet when you're the leader of a team because everybody's leading, following you. And also you have to take all the responsibility to answer the question to the press when things are going good or bad. That's part of the responsibility. So I expect them. I'm excited for the Suns. I'm cautiously optimistic. But Devin's got to step up and be the leader, plain and simple.
Wolf, any chance you would agree with that?
Yeah, man, honestly, I do. It's well said by Chalk. It really is. This is the way that I've felt for quite some time now, and where will the leadership come from with this team? It is the biggest question mark that I have. Is it going to be Book? Because it's got to be Book. It's got to be Book. Devin Booker. That's where I think the leadership is going to come from. Hey, boys, get in line. It starts here. And I'm going to keep myself accountable. That's the great thing about it. Book does that. Book keeps himself accountable. He's not a guy that is trying to Jedi mind trick everybody, that he's one of the greatest basketball players ever to live. Book is accountable unto himself and holds himself to a standard that is so high. He's the one guy who can do it. He's the only guy that can do it because he's their best player. And I know you could say, well, KD, of course. Yes, I get it. KD's the best player, one of the best players of all times. There's no doubt about it. But Book is also one of the best players in the world. And guess what? People look up to him inside that locker room because they acknowledge he's one of the best players in the world. Lead. Because KD is not built that way. Book's got to be that guy.
I'll say, well, let me play a couple of these cuts from Durant and Booker, but I'll quickly say this. I don't think I'm as worried about this as everybody else is, just because Booker flat out said this is something he wants to improve this year, and his track record over 10 years in the league is when he says he wants to improve something, he improves it that year. And just the fact that he has brought this up on his own says to me it's important to him.
It starts with one.
There you go. That's it, starting with one. Here's Booker describing KD's leadership style.
I mean, he's one of the greatest to ever do it. You know, he's more vocal than people say he is. But he also leads by example every day. He's the loudest one in practice. He's first in every drill, and the pace of his individual workouts is second to none.
See, I mean that right there. Like, if I don't know, we're not in that room. We're not involved in practice, right? We can go watch a little bit of practice, but we can't, we're not involved in the actual practice. I think Durant, his leadership has been scrutinized for how many years now by a bunch of people nationally too. It's gonna, either the Suns are gonna go really deep in the playoffs and everybody's gonna say, okay, the leadership's fine, or they're not, and that's what people are gonna point to because there's so much talent on this team. But if Devin Booker thinks Kevin Durant is leading and he sees guys following him, then there's a leadership quality there.
Yeah, there is a leadership quality there, except KD doesn't want to be that guy. KD is a beta, and he'll pretty much tell you he just wants to hoop. That's what he is, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And, KD, I'm with KD on this. Lead by example and don't talk. Lead by example. That's what they really need from KD right now. Lead by example and don't talk. Don't talk about some of the guys that might be leading. If Book is starting to be a little bit more boisterous and voice his opinion, don't start talking behind Devin Booker. And I'm not saying KD would do this. I'm just saying, don't do it. Let him lead and support him. That's what KD needs to do. Let Book lead, because KD really doesn't want to be that guy. And he's made that very, very clear. He wants to be the guy who just hoops. Just goes out and plays ball. That's what he does. That's fine. But you need guys inside a locker room. If you're playing a professional sport, a team sport, you need guys inside the locker room who are accomplished, guys that people look up to, see as leaders because they're great players. You need those guys to be able to walk up on other guys and say, dude, what are you doing?
All right, here's Katie over the weekend talking about it.
Yeah, I try to tell people this my whole life, my whole career, that talk is cheap. But that's what people look at as leadership, is when you're vocal and when they can see them emotions on your sleeve. But it's all about your movements and your intent and what you're doing out there. And I think for the most part, it's about showing up and working hard. You can say all you want, but if you don't come to work, then what does it matter, So I'm glad Bud said that. That's always been what I stand on and how I approach this thing. And, it's going to be times when you need to speak up, but more times than not, you're going to have to show it with your actions in this league. You can't talk your way out of here. So it's good that a coach understands that. He's getting people who follow our team to understand that.
Yeah, it is. You got to lead. You have to lead by example. You have to do. Have you heard me say that before over the years? You have to do first. You have to do. If you don't do first, you're a pariah. You're going to be a joke inside the locker room. You are. Leaders always do first. But you also have to say, and don't mock people who say, don't do it. Don't talk behind their back. Don't belittle them. And I'm not saying KD does that. I'm saying that's what you need inside a locker room. You need guys who do first and always will, and then they're not afraid to walk up and say something to a teammate to challenge him. They're not afraid to challenge their teammates, because you need that too. Because we've already seen the version of this team without it.
Yeah, there's a way this works out really well. If Devin Booker if he turns into a vocal leader, if that's the way he's going to go with this. Kevin Durant doesn't have a choice. Just because of what he's accomplished in this league, guys are going to follow him. So he's a leader by example. And as he just said right there, he's cool doing it that way. It's possible you may have Devin Booker leading one way and Kevin Durant leading a different way, and it working very well. Those two styles playing off each other very well this season. That's the best case scenario, because if they have that, then you're going to get the most out of these other guys on this team. It's not a matter of getting more out of Durant and Booker on the court. What more can they really do? They can combine for 55 points a game last year. You could bump that up to 57, maybe. I don't know.
Don't be afraid to show that you care. Don't be afraid to show your emotions. Call people out. It works.
Thanks for watching Wolf and Luke. Tap to see more and click the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.